Hollander, thank you for joining us. Please welcome April Fan, the director of the film. Thank you, April. And Kitty Lunn. One more round of applause. And of course, Krishna Washburn, who you saw dancing as well. Thank you.
Chair for Krishna. Okay. I love to talk right after I finish dancing.
Let me talk for you.
Okay, thank you.
Take a breath. I didn't know how you were going to do that anyway. So, but then again, you can pretty much do anything, Kitty Lunn. Hi, I'm Anita Hollander, and I'm fortunate to be on the selection committee of the ReelAbilities Festival, and also really fortunate to have worked with Kitty and known Kitty for over 30 years. We've worked together as actors, as dancers actually, and as singers sometimes, and activists and advocates as well. So we have quite a history, and it's just a great honor to be able to sit here and interview you. Years ago, I presented you with an award for your work with AFTRA.
I think you did.
American Federation of Television and Recording Artists. And just, you mentored me as a Performers with Disabilities leader. Well, you kind of guilted me into it, and then it became like a really great thing. And so you've worked on Equity Council, and you've negotiated contracts with AFTRA. You were the tri-union, which was SAG, AFTRA, and Equity, all the actors' unions, chair of Performers with Disabilities. And then it became SAG-AFTRA was together, and now it is, and Equity is still there, and
we're still here.
We're still here. And really, what you just did, what you showed us, is nothing short of a miracle, really.
Thank you.
We were talking about miracles and how our body does what we will it to do sometimes, and sometimes it just does it anyways. And having studied with you the dancing work and doing dancing with you, I lived for the turns. I loved them. I would come in a half an hour early at rehearsals just to do the turns because I loved it. I loved it. It was like flying. It was just fabulous, but not easy. And I would get 3/4 of the way around every single rehearsal, and just like I was looking for that full turn. And also the leaning back part where I just don't know how the thing doesn't turn over. Your control, your center, your core. It's just watching that is amazing. Now, this film that we just saw, I have to tell you that the day that I screened it, it was after we'd seen hundreds of films. And I was telling April here that I saw it and I went, well, I'm sold. It's Kitty, so I'm sold. And I come into the meeting with the selection committee thinking, oh, geez, and every single person was like, yes, it's an absolute yes, it's an absolute yes. And that was not heard most of the time in the room, ever in 6 months of judging films. So there's something about this, what you did, what you've done here, and now Kitty has been documented like her whole life. Well, at least, quite a lot of it. People follow her around and talk to her and do things. This was unique and something very special, and I would love to know, first of all, how you got involved with it, with making this film, and how this worked out between the two of you.
Well, I did the film last year. In May, finished that. I thought I'm gonna follow up with the performance that she did in June.
Right.
In June, but I was shooting another documentary that I just finished recently, and unfortunately I couldn't get a performance. And as I was started editing the whole thing, I realized the film maybe is just sort of fit into more of a behind the scene. So you see her personality, her discipline of dancing, her philosophy of dancing. Initially, I wanted to do a film about dancers in general. And I narrowed it down. I do a lot of research, and I come across this article online that you did. It's a transcription of her interviews. And I just found the story of how dancing with disabilities and even teaching the people who have special needs and tell them how to act elegant as a dancer on the stage.
I'm tough but fair. Tough but fair.
It's just so inspiring for me. And Kitty was so great. I emailed her through her company, Infinity Dance Theater, and they got back at me very quickly. And I met her in one of the audition that she did every day. And I just constantly filming the rehearsals.
A lot of filming.
A lot of
filming.
And
She was all. The camera was always in my face.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just every time I went to the rehearsals and filmed her, there's just nuances of the way she talked to her students and the way she practiced the same, sort of like the same rituals every day, constantly. It's just very, very. How do I put this? It's really, I don't really understand this. I don't get that philosophy and this discipline of dancer, especially when it comes to dancer with disabilities. So that's initially what intrigued me most, and I just cannot stop going to the rehearsals and filming her.
That's great. And it's an interesting thing what happens.
Yes.
Kitty, tell
See,
us.
I had no idea. What I knew is you were a student at NYU in the journalism program and making this film for your class, for your grades or whatever. And then this time passed, and Anita left an email for me saying, I saw your film today and I'm really hoping that it's going to get in. Now, I had produced another documentary for Dance NYC called Task Force. And I thought, I didn't submit Task Force. I didn't know anything about this. And so I forgot all about it. And then I got an email from the festival saying, we're going to be showing the film on March 4th. Could you come and dance? And I said, what film? What film? So anyway, I emailed April and said, could you send me the link to the film so I could see it? And she did, and we're here. And I wanted to do this excerpt from Stardust. When I was recovering from a surgery, Neil deGrasse Tyson was on 60 Minutes. I didn't know who he was. I had never heard him speak. And he talked about how we are all literally made out of stardust. And I sat bolt upright in the bed and I said, that's it. I have to make a piece about stardust and literally dancing on the Milky Way. So I made this piece. The whole piece is with 4 disabled dancers. And I was intent on it using the apparatus that we use in our everyday lives. So, you know? Yeah, I mean, so I wanted Krishna to do it, and she's blind. And when she asked me to work with her, I thought, okay, I've got to get a really, really good non-disabled dancer to be able to show her. And I said, wait a minute, she's not going to be able to see that person any better than she can see me. So we had to work it out. I had never worked with a blind dancer before. So Krishna, why don't you talk about that for a minute?
I've got my.
You have you on mic. Okay.
I had known about you for a while because we were taking class in the classrooms adjacent to each other at Steps. And everyone had always said, oh, you know, Kitty, she's an amazing dancer, but she's really tough. And I'm like,
But
I'm really
fair.
tough too.
But fair.
So when I had the opportunity to meet you after the Dance NYC symposium, I was in the blind people's table right in the front, and I got to listen to you. And your story, I said, this is who I need to work with. This is a person who has the same philosophy artistically as myself. So I was ready to go. I had been, before I lost my sight, I had been a ballet student. It took me more than 10 years to be able to even have the confidence to enter an open studio class again. And there was a lot of mistakes going on in those classes. I really wanted to be ready for this moment to work with you. And when you said, we're going to be doing a piece inspired by Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's one of my own personal heroes, and that I would be representing the light elements, air elements, I was so excited. This was like the most exciting thing I had ever been given the opportunity to do in my entire life.
And I think, April, you were there for the very first rehearsals.
That's right.
And here's the deal. The crippled girl teaching the blind girl how to dance. Okay, so we had to work it out. We had to work it out between us. I can stand momentarily. So I would bring Krishna to the bar and try to fix her into a position that I was trying to explain. Because dancing, when you teach dance, it's all about mimicking.
That's how you taught me the Limon Fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I started with the really hard stuff right away, the falling down and flipping over, so that I could really see how her body worked. But what it really came down to was mutual trust in each other and in the process of the work.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Kitty.
It's about
Thank
the
you,
work.
Krishna. I also had another question for April, but is it okay before we, and then we'll open up for questions from you guys, because I think there may be some questions. And I don't know, are you from China, yes?
Yes.
And you studied a little in China before you came to NYU?
I finished my undergrad degree in China, and I got my master on documentary filmmaking in NYU.
NYU. And one of the films that came in this year that didn't make it to this year's festival, but I'm hoping it will in the future, was a film about performers with disabilities who were little people in China. And we got a backstage look at this. We went behind the scenes, and it was very interesting. and the attitudes of the culture in China, I mean, when we talk performers with disabilities in China, what is that like? What is the attitude or the philosophies or the feelings of people?
One of the things that really struck me the most is that Kitty has this confidence while dancing. Not just dancing while she's dancing. She's a person with a very great confidence. And in China, I don't understand that, because back in China, you don't see a lot of disability people out there on the street. We don't have this sort of access.
We need to change that.
Facility.
Yes, we do.
Well, that's
We need
why
to
it's
change
important that I asked you this. I think it's important for us in America to see that perspective.
You don't see them on the street. You don't make contact with them in your daily life, because they don't go out that much, because the society does not provide enough services for them. And that's one of the reasons that I found here in America with Kitty and all these inspiring dancers. We're doing inspiring thing. It's so amazing. And I think that the film needs to be shown in China as well.
I think you're right.
Let's all go and do that. Let's go do that.
I say yes, April.
There comes a stigma with the
Exactly, the
Yeah.
stigma. That's
Yeah.
right. Thank you for talking about that. I didn't know if it was okay for me to ask. Are there questions out here? I can't see hands.
Hi, this question's for Kitty. How long have you been dancing? What was it like with Agnes DeMille?
I've been dancing for almost 60 years. I started dancing when I was 8. You do the math. Working with Miss DeMille, of course, I was a very young dancer. And the thing about being a young dancer is you think you're going to be young, and people have told you you're gifted, and you're going to be able-bodied forever, you know? So when I asked Miss DeMille, I was dead serious about having a bone transplant because Mr. Balanchine wanted you to be 6 feet tall on point. And if I stood up very tall on a good day on point, I was like 5'4". What was I going to do? I had to have a bone transplant. And when she said that to me, Kitty dear, you have to learn to dance in the body you have. I thought, well, she doesn't understand anything. I don't like the body I have. Flash forward to my accident. And the man who became my husband, who was not my husband at that time, Andrew Macmillan, said to me, well, if you want to dance, what's stopping you? And the truth was, fear was stopping me. I couldn't point my toes. I can't hold my stomach in. All of those things that they don't charge extra for when you have a spinal cord injury. So if I wanted to keep dancing, I had to learn to dance in the body I have now, to make peace with this instrument, just like Krishna has to make peace with her instrument, as we all do. We all have something, you know? So Miss DeMille had no idea. She was trying to save a young girl from doing something really stupid, like trying to cut her leg in two or something. But it really became the philosophy of my life, to learn to dance in the body you have. And that's what I try to teach to my students. Does that help?
This question's for Kitty. Is there?
Where are you?
Is there a certain reaction you typically get when you tell people that you are a dancer?
Yes. People assume that I used to be a dancer. You know? Oh, you used to be a dancer. What do you do now? Well, I'm a dancer. You know? I've been a dancer all my life. So I've stopped trying to explain all of that. Sometimes it gets very exhausting to be an activist 24 hours a day. And you just want to live your life, you know? So I try to let the work speak for itself.
This is for Kitty also, or any of you that would like to respond to this. I'm Marcia, I'm from Arizona, and I'm very happy to see your work. And I'm wondering, what do you see as your legacy? How will this work that you've done, this important work, continue? Are you thinking about that, making plans?
Krishna's part of my legacy. Tonight there will be a performance down at Gibney with Alice Shepard and Mark Brew, who were students of mine as well. All of the people that I teach are my legacy. I never, ever thought of this work as being about me. Anita's known me a very long time, and it's kind of uncomfortable to have people think I'm just this extraordinary person. I'm a dancer doing work, teaching others, just like my early dance teachers taught me. My first dance teacher in New Orleans was taught by Pavlova. And one day before I left to go to the Washington Ballet, she said, Pavlova gave it to me and I'm giving it to you. And who are you going to give it to? And so I try to pass that on, and that's why I'm tough but fair. and that it does take a lot of discipline and repetition of the ritual. And let me tell you, ladies, the older you get, the more you need the repetition of the ritual.
Great. Are there other questions?
Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want to give a big thank you, first of all, to Anita for absolutely everything. And of course, to our three lovely panelists, dancers, protagonists. Thank you so much for being here.
Protagonist. I love that. Thank
It's
you.
true.
We're protagonists.
I like that.
Yes. Okay.
Next up in this room, actually, in about 5 minutes or so, is the Real Spectrum series, which are going to be, it's 3 amazing short films, Anna, Winston's Ghost, and Spectrum. Check them out here in our program. You're welcome to stay. We're going to open the doors and let people let people in, and let you out first. If you're going to exit, actually, best to exit through these doors right here at the moment.